On November 18th, 2025, at exactly 60:52 in the evening, my son-in-law sat across from me at the dinner table, folded his hands and told me to pay $2,800 a month or find somewhere else to live. He smiled when he said it. What he didn't know was that he was sitting in my house, and I'd been letting him charge me rent to live in it for 5 years. My name is Gerald Earl Oakes. I'm 64 years old. I spent 38 years as a building contractor in Slidell, Louisiana. I've poured foundations, framed walls, and fixed what other people broke. My hands show it. And before I tell you what happened after that dinner, let me tell you who I actually am, because it matters. I retired in 2018 when I sold my contracting company. 38 years of work turned into $1.2 million on a wire transfer. I didn't throw a party. I didn't tell my kids. I called my attorney, Wallace Grimes, drove home and sat in the backyard with a glass of sweet tea until it got dark. My wife Sylvia died in March 2019. 31 years of marriage. She was 61. After she was gone, the house we'd shared felt wrong in a way I couldn't fix, and I've fixed a lot of things in my life. My daughter Diane called that fall and said, "Dad, come stay with us. It makes sense." I thought maybe she was right. I moved into the house at 4 Birchwood Court in January 2020. 3 stories, 3,100 square feet. Hardwood floors I'd laid myself back in 2011. A backyard garden Sylvia had always wanted but never got to see finished. Clifford Pruitt, my son-in-law, told me the going rate for a room in that neighborhood was $1,600 a month. He had comps. He had a printed sheet. He explained it like he was doing me a favor, and Diane nodded along beside him. I paid it, first of every month, on time for 5 years. What neither of them knew was that I owned the house. Had owned it since April 2009, bought through an LLC called Oaks Property Group for $520,000 cash. My name, my deed, my filing with St. Tammany Parish. I was paying rent to live in my own house. Now let me explain how that's even possible. I'd bought the Birchwood property years before I sold the company, using profits I'd set aside quietly over time. I ran the purchase through the LLC on Wallace's advice, mostly for liability protection. Nothing unusual for a contractor who owns property, but I kept it off the books as far as family was concerned. The reason I kept it quiet goes back to my older brother Earl. When Earl came into money after selling some land, word got around the family inside of 2 weeks. Within a year, every cousin with a problem and every in-law with a plan had found a reason to need Earl's help. He spent the next 5 years trying to keep people from being disappointed in him. Broke at 68. I watched that happen up close, and I never forgot it. Sylvia and I agreed before she got sick. If we ever had real money, it stayed quiet. We invest it, protect it, and when we're gone, it goes to the grandkids in a trust. Our kids were grown adults. They didn't need us to hand them a windfall. They needed to build their own lives. So that's what we did. By November 2025, between the properties, the investment portfolio, and savings, my total net worth sat around $2.1 million. Comfortable, quiet, nobody's business but mine and Wallace's. Living at Birchwood was fine at first. Diane and I had dinner together most evenings. Her son Teddy, my grandson, 20 years old and studying at Southeastern Louisiana University, was in and out. Those were the good parts. Clifford was a different story. He worked as a financial advisor downtown. Polished, well-dressed, always had a reason ready for whatever he wanted to say. He managed the household finances, and he managed Diane along with them. Not in a loud way, in a quiet, constant way that I noticed because I've dealt with a certain type of man my whole career. The type who's always running a number on you and wants you to think it's your idea. The small things added up. There was a spot at the kitchen table that was understood to be mine, the one farthest from the window. When I used the living room in the evenings, Clifford would come in, flip on the overhead light, and sit down with his laptop without a word, which was his way of ending the quiet I'd been sitting in. If I was in the kitchen in the morning before Diane came down, he'd walk past and say something about the coffee being low or the grocery costs running high. Nothing direct, just the constant low-level pressure that said, "You are a guest here, and guests don't forget it." Once every few months, he'd sit me down at the kitchen table with a printed sheet. Property taxes went up, insurance rates adjusted, maintenance costs increased. Each time there was a new number. The rent went from $1,600 to $1,900, then to $2,100. Each increase came with documentation. I never argued. I paid. What I didn't know yet was why he was so precise about it. In August 2025, I was walking through the kitchen when I saw Teddy's laptop open on the counter. He'd stepped outside for a minute. I wasn't looking for anything. But the tab on his screen was pulled up to the St. Tammany Parish Property Records database. The address in the search bar was 4 Birchwood Court. I stood there for a moment, then I went to my room and called Wallace. "Someone's been looking up the house," I said. How long do you think they've known? He asked. I don't know yet. Start pulling everything together. Wallace did what Wallace does. He's 67 years old, semi-retired, keeps a small office on Tyler Street in downtown Slidell. We've known each other 22 years since a permit dispute with the parish that he helped me win in 3 weeks. He knows every detail of my finances. He's the only one who does. What Wallace found took about 2 weeks to piece together. Clifford, as a licensed financial advisor, had access to property and asset databases through his firm. On March 4, 2023, he had run a search on 4 Birchwood Court. He pulled the deed, he pulled the LLC registration, he found Oaks Property Group, and he found my name listed as sole member he had known for 2.5 years. And in those 2.5 years, he had raised my rent twice, added a monthly maintenance fee of $200, and in June 2025 opened a joint savings account with Diane. Every deposit into that account was labeled household cost recovery. 8 months of deposits, $16,800 total, my rent money, sitting in a private account with his name on it. He never said a word to me. He never said a word to Diane about what he had found. He adjusted the plan and kept going. Wallace laid it out plainly. Under Louisiana Revised Statute 1444 Hero 3.3, what Clifford had done met the definition of elder financial exploitation, intentional misappropriation of funds from a person 60 years of age or older, a felony. But I needed his own words, not just records. About 3 months before the dinner table conversation, I started letting people think my hearing was slipping. I'd ask Clifford to repeat things at dinner. I'd turn the TV up louder than I needed to. I'd lean in like I was struggling to follow. Nothing dramatic. Just consistent enough that after a few weeks, people stopped being careful around me. Clifford started talking more freely. Teddy noticed the change in him before I said anything. He came to my room one evening, closed the door, and sat down. Grandpa, something's going on. I've heard Dad on the phone talking about the house, about you. He looked at me for a moment. You're not actually losing your hearing, are you? I looked back at him. I need you to help me. Teddy is sharp. He gets that from his mother and from Sylvia before her. He didn't ask a lot of questions. He set up a small recorder in the living room and kept his phone running voice memos when Clifford and Diane talked in the kitchen or on the back porch. Over the next 2 months, he collected 58 separate audio files. Most of it was ordinary, but some of it wasn't. The recording that mattered most was a phone call Clifford made in the garage on a Saturday morning in October. He thought the door was closed all the way. It wasn't. Teddy sent me the file that afternoon. I sat on the edge of my bed with my earphones in and listened to it 3 times. Clifford's voice. The old man has no idea I've seen the paperwork. We keep increasing the costs. He either caves or he leaves on his own. Either way, when the time comes, the LLC transfers. I've already talked to someone about the process. It's straightforward if there's no will challenge. He was planning for after I died, and making sure there was as much money moving his direction as possible in the meantime. There was a second recording from 2 weeks later. Diane was in the room this time. She was talking about Thanksgiving, about whether Howard would drive down from Baton Rouge. Clifford cut in and said the room situation needed to be resolved before the new year. Diana said, "What do you mean resolved?" And Clifford said, "I mean, we either get what this space is actually worth or we stop carrying the extra weight." Diane didn't respond to that. There was a pause on the recording, maybe 5 seconds, and then she said something about the sweet potatoes. I don't think she understood what he meant. I think she heard it and chose not to follow it all the way to the end. That's not the same as being in on it. I want to be clear about that. I also want to be clear about what I did next. I didn't confront him. I didn't say anything at dinner that gave it away. I went about my routine the same as always. I fixed a loose board on the back porch steps because it needed fixing. I had coffee with Teddy on Sunday mornings. I went to my room in the evenings, and I let Clifford believe exactly what he wanted to believe. And I waited. The dinner on November 18th was a Tuesday. Diane had made baked chicken and rice. Clifford came to the table in his work clothes, loose and tie, the kind of tired that's performed more than felt. He waited until the plates were mostly cleared before he started. "Gerald, we've run the numbers." He folded his hands on the table. "Starting December 1st, the new amount is $2,800 a month, plus utilities. If that doesn't work for you, we should probably talk about other arrangements." He said it calm, reasonable, like he was presenting a quarterly report. Diane sat beside him and looked at her plate. I set my fork down. I looked at Clifford for a moment, then at Diane. She didn't look up. "I'll have an answer for you by the weekend," I said. Clifford nodded like that was acceptable. Diane said nothing. I finished what was on my plate, excused myself, and walked to my room. I sat on the edge of the bed and called Wallace. He just gave me the ultimatum, I said. 2,800 or leave. How do you want to handle it? List the property Monday. Everything we talked about. I'll call Carolyn tonight. Carolyn Spears was a realtor I'd worked with years back on a commercial project in Covington. She knew the Slidell market cold, and she knew how to move a property without making noise about it. The listing would go under Oaks Property Group. My name would not appear anywhere on the public documents. I spent the next 2 days packing slowly, the same way I'd been packing for 3 weeks. 2 suitcases, 1 box, my tools, the photographs of Sylvia, a few books, everything else could stay. Things are just things. On Friday evening, I came to dinner, sat down, and said, "Clifford, I've thought about it. I can't make the new number work. I'll be out by end of next week." He nodded. "That's probably for the best." Diane looked at the table. I went back to my room. I made 3 phone calls. Wallace to confirm the listing timeline. Howard, my son in Baton Rouge, 42 years old, civil engineer, who already knew most of what was coming because I'd been keeping him updated for 2 months. And Teddy, who I told to keep doing exactly what he was doing and not to change anything about his routine. The next morning, I checked into an extended stay hotel on Gauzy Boulevard. $870 a week. Clean room, small kitchen, everything I needed. I made real coffee with real cream and sat by the window while the sun came up. At 10 that Saturday morning, Carolyn sent a photographer to 4 Birchwood Court. She told whoever answered the door that it was a routine landlord inspection. Teddy texted me 20 minutes later. "Mom's asking who owns the house. The photographer won't tell her. Dad's on his laptop." Good. Let him look. The deed was filed under Oaks Property Group LLC with a registered agent address in Baton Rouge. Even if Clifford found the LLC, he'd have to file a formal request with the Secretary of State to see the member list. That takes time. And by the time he got there, it wouldn't matter. Monday evening, the listing went live at $895,000. Within 2 hours, Carolyn had 3 showing requests. Teddy sent me a photo that Tuesday afternoon, Clifford was standing in the driveway staring at the for sale sign. Diane was behind him on the front steps with her arms crossed. Howard called me that evening. "Diane called me. She says you abandoned the family." I left. "There's a difference. I know that, Dad. I'm just telling you what she said." He paused. "Is everything in place?" "Everything's in place." The closing happened on December 14th at Wallace's office on Tyler Street. Eugene and Norma Halbert, both mid-60s, retiring from up north, paid $910,000. Eugene had been a firefighter for 34 years. Norma had taught 2nd grade. Good people. They shook my hand across the conference table and Norma said the house had such good energy, she could just feel it walking through. I smiled and let her believe that. Net proceeds after fees came to $862,000. That same afternoon, I closed on a cottage at 892 Bellwood Lane. 400 square feet, 1 story, a sun porch that faced a small garden, $315,000 cash, 40-minute closing. When the keys were in my hand, I drove straight there, walked through each room and stood in the sun porch for a few minutes looking at the garden. The boards on the porch floor were soft in 2 spots. The screens had gaps. There was work to do. I made a mental note of where to start. The eviction notice went to 4 Birchwood Court on December 15th. Certified mail and sheriff's delivery, per Louisiana law, 30 days to vacate. New owners taking possession January 15th. Clifford called me 2 hours after it was delivered. I didn't answer. Diane called that evening. I picked up. "Dad, we got a notice. The house is being sold." "How do you know about this?" "Diane," I said, "I need you to come to 892 Bellwood Lane tomorrow morning. Bring Clifford if he wants. There are things you need to hear in person." She was quiet for a moment. "Okay," she said. They showed up at 9:15 the next morning. Clifford's jaw was tight. Diane looked like she hadn't slept. I had coffee ready, but neither of them wanted any. I sat them down at my kitchen table and put a folder in front of Clifford. "You're a financial advisor," I said. "You know how to read property records. You found the LLC in March of 2023. You found my name as sole member. And instead of saying anything, you raised my rent, added fees, and opened a savings account with Diane to collect what you were charging me." I tapped the folder. "Wallace Grimes filed this morning. The bank records, the database access logs from your firm, and 58 audio recordings are all part of the case." Clifford looked at the folder. He didn't open it. His face went through several things in about 4 seconds. Diane looked at her husband, then at me, then back at him. "You knew?" she said. Quiet, not loud, just the words sitting there. He didn't answer. "Clifford." Her voice was steadier than I expected. "You knew he owned the house," I said. "I'll give you 2 a few minutes," and I went to the sun porch and let them talk. I could hear the tone of it through the wall, but not the words. At one point, Diane's voice went up and then went flat again. After about 10 minutes, she came to the doorway of the sun porch and stood there. Dad, I didn't know. I know you didn't, I said. She nodded and went back inside. Clifford left without saying anything to me. I heard the front door close and then his car back out of the driveway. Diane sat at my kitchen table for another hour. We didn't talk much. I refilled her coffee twice. Before she left, she said, "I'm sorry, Dad." I told her we'd talk more when things settled down. The trial was January 29th, 2026. Courtroom 4B, 22nd Judicial District Court. Judge Loretta Sims presiding. She'd been on the bench for 18 years. Wallace told me she had no patience for elder abuse cases and even less for people who walked into her courtroom with frivolous claims. Clifford had hired Alfred Treadwell, a New Orleans attorney, expensive suit, silver hair, the kind of lawyer who walks in like the room belongs to him. The gallery was full. Howard had driven down from Baton Rouge and was sitting in the front row with Teddy beside him. Treadwell called Clifford to the stand first. Clifford sat upright, calm, and told the court that I had deceived my family for years about my financial situation, that his wife had been caused severe emotional distress, and that as a member of the household he had a reasonable expectation of honesty from the people living under his roof. He said "under his roof" twice. Both times I let it go. Then Wallace stood up. "Mr. Pruitt, you testified that you had no knowledge of the Oaks Property Group, LLC, prior to the for sale listing appearing in November 2025. Is that correct?" Clifford said yes. Wallace walked to the bench and handed Judge Sims a document. Then he turned back to Clifford. "I'm showing you what has been marked as Defense Exhibit A. These are access logs from the property and asset database used by your firm. Can you read the date on the entry highlighted in yellow?" Clifford looked at the page, March 4th, 2023, and the address searched, a pause. 4 Birchwood Court. And the username on that entry, another pause. Longer this time. "That's your username, Mr. Pruitt. CP 200-2041, correct?" Clifford said yes. "So you accessed the full property record for 4 Birchwood Court, including the deed showing Oaks Property Group LLC as owner and the LLC registration showing Gerald Oaks as sole member, on March 4th, 2023. Nearly 3 years before you claim you had no knowledge of this." Treadwell objected. Judge Sims overruled. Wallace let that sit for a moment. Then he continued. "In December 2023, 9 months after accessing those records, you increased Mr. Oakes's rent from $1,900 to $2,100. You opened a joint savings account. I'm showing you Defense Exhibit B bank records for that account. Deposits labeled household cost recovery total $16,800 over 8 months. That money came from Mr. Oakes's rent payments. You did not disclose this account to Mr. Oakes, correct?" Clifford said the account was for shared household expenses. "Shared between you and your wife," Wallace said. "Not shared with the man whose money funded it." He walked back to the defense table and picked up a printed sheet. "I'm going to play a portion of an audio recording dated October 11th, 2025. Treadwell objected again. Judge Sims looked at him and said overruled. "Proceed." The recording played through the courtroom speaker. Clifford's voice was clear. "The old man has no idea I've seen the paperwork. We keep increasing the costs. He either caves or he leaves on his own. Either way, when the time comes, the LLC transfers. I've already talked to someone about the process." The courtroom was quiet. Wallace said, "No further questions." Clifford sat in the witness box and looked at the table in front of him. He didn't look at Diane. He didn't look at me. He just sat there while the room stayed quiet around him. Judge Sims returned to the bench after a short recess. The room settled. "I've presided over this court for 18 years, she said. "I've seen many types of cases. This one is not complicated." She looked at Treadwell first, then at Clifford. "A property owner has no legal obligation to disclose their assets to adult family members. None. The claims of fraudulent misrepresentation, emotional distress, and breach of fiduciary duty are without merit and are dismissed in their entirety." She set down the paper she was holding. "However, the evidence presented shows a clear and documented pattern of financial exploitation of a person over the age of 60, carried out with full knowledge of the victim's ownership interest in the property in question. The defendant accessed records confirming that ownership in March 2023. He then systematically increased costs, misappropriated rental funds into a private account, and made recorded statements indicating intent to acquire the victim's assets following his death. This meets the definition of elder financial exploitation under Louisiana Revised Statute 1443.3. She turned to face the gallery for a moment, then back to the bench. "Mr. Pruitt, you are ordered to pay the defendant's legal fees in the amount of $44,200. This matter is being referred to the Louisiana Attorney General's Office for investigation of potential criminal charges. You are fortunate that Mrs. Oakes is more restrained than you deserve." She banged the gavel. "Case dismissed. We're adjourned." Howard was beside me before I'd fully stood up from my chair. He put his hand on my shoulder and didn't say anything for a moment. Then he said, "Let's get out of here, Dad." Teddy was waiting in the hallway. He looked relieved in the way that young people look when something they helped build actually holds together. I told him he'd done good work. He said, "Grandpa, you did the work. I just held the recorder." Outside, a few reporters had gathered. I said 2 sentences. I said the case was about a man's right to manage his own property and his own life without being treated as a resource to be extracted. And I said that if you're being taken advantage of by someone in your own household, document everything because the truth does not protect itself. Then Howard walked me to his truck and we drove to the cottage on Bellwood Lane. Clifford lost his financial advisory license within 60 days of the trial, while the Attorney General's investigation moved forward. The criminal case was still pending as of spring. Treadwell had filed a motion to delay proceedings, which is what expensive lawyers do when the facts are not on their side. Diane filed for divorce in February. She told me she'd been seeing a counselor since December, and that she was starting to understand how long she'd been managed without realizing it. I didn't say I told you so. There was nothing to gain from that. She and Teddy moved into a small apartment in Mandeville. She called me on a Tuesday evening in March and said, "Dad, I keep thinking about all those dinners, the way we treated you. I don't know how you stayed as long as you did." I told her I stayed because she was my daughter and I wasn't ready to give up on her. That was the truth. Howard brings his family down once a month. We grill on Sunday afternoons. The garden off the sun porch is coming in well. I put in tomatoes and bell peppers along the back fence, and they're doing better than I expected for a first season in new soil. Bernard Kowalski, my old business partner, came by last month with his wife. We sat on the porch and talked for 3 hours about nothing important. It was one of the better afternoons I've had in a long time. The sun porch is finished. I replaced the softboards, rescreened the windows, put in 2 good chairs and a small table. It took me 4 weekends. I did it myself, same as I've always done things. The work was unhurried and it came out right. I've set up an education trust for Teddy through Wallace's office. When Teddy is ready for law school or whatever comes next, the money will be there. That's the plan Sylvia and I talked about all those years ago. Skip our generation, protect the one after it. We were right about that. The house at Birchwood Court sold to good people. They sent me a card in January after they moved in. Norma wrote that the garden in the backyard was even better than the photos. Eugene said the bones of the place were solid, that whoever built it knew what they were doing. I built it. And yes, I did know what I was doing. If you're watching this and something in it sounds familiar, I want to say one thing directly to you. If someone in your life is treating you like a problem to be managed, like a number on a spreadsheet, like something to be patient with until you're gone, trust what you're seeing. You're not being too sensitive. You're not asking for too much. A man who has worked his whole life and built something real does not owe anyone an apology for protecting what he built. Document everything, get a good attorney, and remember that patience is not the same as weakness. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply wait until you're ready and then act without hesitation. I spent 38 years building for other people. This is the first thing I've built for myself.